This week's Torah portion is Parshat Yitro. It's named after the father-in-law of Moses. So Moses' father-in-law, his name was Jethro. In Hebrew it's Yitro. And Yitro was a priest. He was a high priest in Midian. He was sort of like the Pope is to the Catholics. He was the high priest in Midian. He had wealth, he had honor, he had a big status. But he was also a truth seeker, and he wanted to know the truth. He wanted to know about God. He wanted to know about the energies in the world, and he was seeking the truth. And he found it after he investigated all the religions of the world and all the idolaters of the world. He found it with the Jewish people. It says in our Torah that he heard about the Jews coming out of Egypt. He heard about the miracles of the plagues, and he heard about the coming out of Egypt, and he heard about the sea splitting, which was a huge miracle. And he also heard about what we read about in last week's Torah portion, about the wicked Amalek and his warriors who come and they attack the Jewish people from behind, and the Jewish people survive that attack. He heard all these things with the sense of his ears. He didn't see it himself, he heard it, and he understood it. And based on what he heard, and based on his desire to find the truth, he gravitated and wanted to go and join the Jewish people. And it says that Yitro, was a convert, a holy and a righteous convert. He was a Gad Tzaddik. He comes to the Jewish people, and it says in our Torah portion this week that Moses comes out to greet him. He runs to greet him. This idea of greeting and how important it is for us to smile at people when they come towards us, and us to go towards people that we're greeting. When we have people come to our houses, we should go to the door and greet them. We should smile at them first and bring them into our house. That idea of greeting. Moses runs to Jethro, and it says that he bows and he kisses him. So Moses is coming to Jethro, his father-in-law. He marries Jethro's daughter, Zipporah, and he bows and he kisses him. So the bowing is a kind of a lowering of himself. So Moses, we know, is the greatest of all prophets. He's the greatest and the most connected to God of anybody ever. He is a prophet like no other. So Moses, who is on a high spiritual level, bows. He kind of lowers himself, so to speak, and he kisses Jethro. And the idea of a kiss is something we do with our mouths, and our mouth is an organ of connection. We eat with our mouths to connect and to keep us alive, to keep our souls in our body. So we use our mouth to eat. We use our mouth to talk so we can connect with each other and transmit ideas between each other. We can understand who each other is through our talking, through our mouths, and we use our mouths to kiss. And in this circumstance, Moses is kissing Yitro, in a sense connecting himself to Jethro. And we learn from the Shem Mishmol that what that is an elevation of Jethro, who's on a lower spiritual level than Moses. And in the act of kissing, by kissing him, Moses is elevating Jethro to a higher spiritual level. In this week's Torah portion, we also learn about the Jewish people coming to Mount Sinai. They're going to receive the Torah from God. God's going to reveal himself to the Jewish people. They prepare, they come to the mountain, they get themselves ready for 3 days, and on the third day, there's thunder, there's lightning, and there's an experience of God like no other. And we understand from our teachings that the first of the 10 Commandments, which is, I am the Lord your God, was such a powerful experience with the Jewish people who were all gathered ready for this experience. They were connected to each other, and it says they were like one heart, they were like one people. Every soul that ever exists, that ever was going to exist, ever will exist, ever did exist, was present at Mount Sinai, had this experience of being connected to God at Mount Sinai. That's all of us. We were all there. Our souls were there. That we became completely untethered. That the experience of having that revelation where God proclaims that I am the Lord your God that brought you out of the land of Egypt, that experience was so powerful that the souls of every single person became unanchored, untethered from the physical world, and essentially died. We have a saying in our teachings that say that you can't see God and live. And the experience of receiving the first and the second of the Ten Commandments was so powerful and so overwhelming and so real that the people actually lost their soul. Their souls left their bodies and gravitated up into the higher realms, and God brought brought us all back to life again. We received the second of the Ten Commandments. Again, we had this huge, powerful connection experience with God that we couldn't live, brought back to life. And at that point, Moses goes back up to Sinai and he gets the Ten Commandments, he gets all of the Torah and brings it down and teaches it to the people. It's too much of an experience. But I want to compare the experience of Moses bowing, lowering himself, and kissing Jethro to elevate him spiritually is akin, on a small level, to the experience we had at Sinai, where God comes down and God essentially kisses us with the first and the second of the Ten Commandments. We get this divine kiss of revelation, and we can't survive that. And yet we are elevated spiritually by that experience. And later on, we're going to read about the death of Moses. We're going to read about the death of Aaron, his brother. We're going to read about the death of Miriam, their sister, who all die by the kiss of God. It's a kiss in the sense that the soul can't have that experience of God and survive and stay rooted in the physical world. And the experience of dying, as Moses, Aaron, and Miriam had, of being kissed by God, is akin to pulling a hair out of a vat of milk. A hair comes very smoothly out of milk. So does the soul of somebody who dies by the kiss of God. It's like extracting a hair from milk. It's so smooth. It leaves so easily. It's ready to transition into that spiritual world. And that's the experience that we had at Sinai. We were elevated spiritually to such a high level that we couldn't exist, but then we were brought back to life. And I think that if we think about the experience that Jethro had with Moses, that he's elevated by Moses, that Moses comes to greet him, comes to welcome him, comes and lowers himself and kisses him, elevates him spiritually, so too we as a people arrived at Sinai, had an experience with God where God lowered God's self, so to speak, and elevated us spiritually. That in our days, we also have that capacity to elevate ourselves all the time. In everything we do, there's a capacity to be more spiritual in the world. And how do we do that? By connecting ourselves to God, by connecting ourselves to people who are on a higher spiritual level than us. Moses was on a much higher spiritual level than Jethro, and Yitro is elevated by that relationship, by that connection. So too, we need to find those people who are our mentors, who are our trailblazers, who are the people that we can learn from and can grow spiritually with. And so my blessing to everybody, I'm in Jerusalem. I was at the Kotel yesterday, and there's a feeling of spirituality. And that place in the old city of Jerusalem, on Har Moriah, is where we now understand there is a kissing of heaven and earth, where God kisses the world at that point. There's a connection at that point in the physical world that is unparalleled anywhere else in the world. And if we can try to tap into that, if we can open ourselves up and have those spiritual antennae to tap into that and to take that energy and to continue to live and yearn for greater spirituality in our physical lives, not that we leave our physical lives behind, but that we can elevate the spiritual, that we can elevate the physical and become more spiritual in the physical. That's the work of the Jewish people. And I bless us that we are successful. I bless us that we find those people who can spiritually elevate us, and that we have a relationship with God that can spiritually elevate all of us.